There are moments in life when the silence feels heavier than the pain. Moments when your prayers seem unanswered, your tears fall unseen, and your heart quietly wonders, where is Allah in all of this? We carry these questions in the deepest corners of our souls, afraid to voice them, afraid that doubt itself might push us further away. But what if the very ache you feel is not abandonment, but closeness you don't yet recognize? Allah never promised us a life without struggle, but He promised us that we would never walk through it alone. When doors close, when people leave, when plans collapse, it is easy to believe we have been forgotten. Yet it is often in those moments when everything else is stripped away that Allah is drawing us nearer, teaching us reliance instead of attachment, faith instead of fear. Today is not about pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about understanding that hardship is not proof of distance from Allah. Sometimes it is the clearest sign that He is shaping you, protecting you, and guiding you towards something far greater than what you lost. Because when the world turns its back, Allah never does, and He never abandons a heart that turns toward Him. There comes a moment in every heart when silence becomes louder than words. When the world around you moves on, but you feel left behind, still carrying the weight of yesterday's pain. You pray, but your heart trembles with uncertainty. You cry, but no one seems to notice. You look for signs, but all you find is stillness. And somewhere inside you begin to whisper, has Allah forgotten me? That whisper is the cry of the soul that has tasted loneliness too deeply. But the truth, the beautiful and eternal truth, is that Allah never abandons you. Not for a second, not for a heartbeat, not even in the spaces where it feels like everything is slipping away. You see, sometimes Allah hides His mercy behind what looks like silence. He withholds something, not to deprive you, but to purify you. He delays, not to disappoint you, but to strengthen you. The ache you feel in your chest is not the sign of His absence. It is the mark of His presence. Because the heart that hurts is the heart that still feels. And the heart that still feels is the heart that is alive, still beating with faith, still yearning for the one who never leaves. We live in a world that measures love by attention. If people reply quickly, we say they care. If they leave us on red, we think we no longer matter. And sometimes we project that same logic onto Allah. When our prayers aren't answered immediately, we assume He has turned away. But Allah's love is not like human love. His silence is not rejection. His delay is not neglect. When He holds you back, He is actually holding you closer. When He tests you, He is preparing you for what your soul prayed for long before your tongue could speak it. Think of the story of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, thrown into a well by his own brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned for a crime he never committed. If anyone had reason to feel abandoned, it was him. But through every moment of betrayal, loneliness, and darkness, Allah was writing a story of redemption and elevation. What looked like rejection was actually divine direction. And at the end of it all, Yusuf looked back and said, "Indeed, my Lord was subtle in what He willed." The same Lord who guided Yusuf through the well and the prison is guiding you through your trials. The same mercy that rescued him from the depths is with you in your silence, your pain, your confusion. When you think you are alone, remember the one who never sleeps, the one who never forgets, the one who never leaves. You might be brokenhearted, but even in that brokenness, there is light. Because sometimes Allah breaks your heart to heal your soul. He takes away the things you were clinging to, not to hurt you, but to remind you that nothing was ever truly yours except your connection with Him. The people who walk away, the plans that fall apart, the dreams that fade, all of it is meant to lead you back to the one who never walks away. Every tear you shed is seen. Every silent prayer you whisper is heard. Every night you spend awake, wondering why life feels so heavy, is recorded by the Lord who says, "I am near." Allah's nearness isn't always felt in comfort. Sometimes it's felt in the storm, because it is in the storm that you learn who truly anchors you. It is in the silence that you hear His voice the clearest, not through sound, but through the stillness that tells your soul, you are not alone. Do you remember the moment you thought you couldn't survive, yet here you are? That strength was not yours. That peace you felt after crying in sujood, that was him. That random act of kindness that showed up when you were about to give up, that was him. That small hope that whispered in your heart when everything seemed impossible, that was him. Every ounce of mercy that ever touched your life, every comfort that reached you when you least expected it, was a reminder that Allah never left. Sometimes Allah removes people from your life because He knows their presence was drowning your peace. Sometimes He closes doors you were desperate to open because behind them was something that would destroy your soul. You only see what's in front of you, but Allah sees the entire path. What feels like delay is often protection. What feels like loss is often preparation. And what feels like loneliness is often an invitation, a divine call to return to Him with sincerity, not because you have nowhere else to go, but because you finally realize He was all you needed all along. It's easy to have faith when life feels good, when prayers are answered quickly, when hearts are light, when everything seems aligned. But the real test of faith is in the dark. It's in the nights when you cry yourself to sleep. It's in the moments when you feel like you're falling apart. It's in those quiet, unseen battles where no one else understands your pain, but Allah does. And when you choose to hold on in those moments, to keep praying, to keep believing, to keep turning back to Him, that is where your faith grows roots. That is where your soul learns that Allah's love isn't proven by how much ease He gives, but by how much strength He builds within you through the struggle. You might not see it now, but every hardship carries a gift. Maybe the gift is patience. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's a deeper connection with Allah that you could never have found in comfort. When life strips away everything you thought you needed, it's because Allah is showing you that He is enough. The dunya was never meant to satisfy your heart. It was meant to remind you of the one who can. You can chase the world for a lifetime and still feel empty, but one moment of sincere connection with Allah can fill a heart that the world could never touch. And so when you feel unseen, remember the one who sees you in the darkness of your room when no one else does. When you feel unheard, remember the one who knows the words you cannot even form. When you feel forgotten, remember the one who has writ and your name in His eternal book, who sustains your every breath, who has never left your side. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. Chosen to grow, to be refined, to be drawn nearer. Faith is not about never falling. It's about who you turn to when you fall. You can break 1,000 times and Allah will still be there, ready to mend your heart again. You can cry 1,000,000 tears and He will still listen. Because His mercy doesn't run out, His love doesn't fade, and His door never closes. You can knock as many times as you want, and each time you will find it open, because Allah never abandons the one who seeks Him. So when your heart feels heavy, don't suppress the pain. Turn it into a prayer. When the world feels loud, retreat into silence and whisper His name. When everything else feels uncertain, anchor yourself in His promises. He said, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Not maybe, not sometimes, but I will. The certainty of that promise is enough to sustain you through the darkest nights. Even when you cannot feel His presence, trust that He is there, closer than your jugular vein, nearer than any comfort the world could offer. He is the one who guided you before you even knew you needed guidance, the one who answered prayers you didn't know how to ask, the one who protected you from things you thought you wanted, the one who has written for you a story so full of mercy that every heartbreak will one day make sense. And perhaps that's the beauty of faith. Not that life becomes easy, but that no matter how hard it gets, you know you are never alone. Because the one who created your heart will never abandon it. The one who formed your soul will never forsake it. The one who brought you into this world with purpose will never leave you wandering without direction. Every breath you take is proof of His care. Every sunrise you see is a reminder of His consistency. Every ounce of love you feel is a reflection of His mercy. So when the night feels long and your prayers seem unanswered, hold on a little longer. The dawn always comes after the darkest hour. And in that dawn, you will see what your patience was protecting, what your tears were watering, and what your faith was building. Allah was never gone. He was with you in every moment, guiding, protecting, loving, and preparing you for something only your heart can recognize when it's ready. Pain has a way of making us question everything. It makes us look at our lives and wonder where things went wrong, why our hearts feel heavier than before, and whether we did something to deserve this weight. When hardship lingers, the mind starts to whisper dangerous thoughts. Maybe this is punishment. Maybe Allah is displeased. Maybe I am too broken to be loved. These thoughts don't come from faith. They come from fear. And fear has a way of distorting the truth until mercy looks like abandonment and trials feel like rejection. But pain in the hands of Allah is never meaningless. It is never wasted. And it is never proof that you have been cast aside. Allah does not punish hearts that are turning toward Him. He does not abandon souls that are searching for Him. When you are hurting, it is not because Allah has turned away, but often because He is drawing you closer. Pain has a strange ability to strip away illusions. It removes the false sense of control, the belief that people or plans or possessions can save us. And when those illusions fall, what remains is the raw truth of the soul standing before its Creator, finally aware of how deeply it needs Him. We often think closeness to Allah should feel soft and easy, filled with constant peace and comfort. But sometimes closeness feels like being broken open. Sometimes it feels like losing what you thought you needed. Sometimes it feels like crying in the dark with no words left to say. And yet, it is in those moments that the heart is most sincere, most humble, most real. A heart that is broken for the sake of Allah is not a punished heart. It is a purified one. There is a mercy hidden inside hardship that the comfortable heart may never understand. When life is smooth, we tend to rely on ourselves. We make plans, trust our own strength, lean on people, and forget how fragile we truly are. Pain reminds us. It brings us back to the truth of our dependence. It teaches the soul to bow. Not just in prayer, but in surrender. And surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of trust. Allah does not test you to see you fail. He tests you to show you what you are capable of becoming. Every hardship is measured. Every tear is counted. Every moment of patience is recorded. Nothing reaches your heart unless Allah allows it, and nothing that Allah allows comes without wisdom, even when that wisdom is hidden from you, especially when it is hidden from you. Think about how often we ask Allah for strength, for growth, for a deeper connection with Him. But strength is not built in ease. Growth does not happen in comfort. And closeness to Allah is often born in moments when the world falls silent and the soul finally listens. Pain is not the opposite of mercy. Sometimes it is the vehicle through which mercy arrives. There are wounds that only Allah can heal, and sometimes He allows those wounds to remain open just long enough for you to stop seeking healing from places that were never meant to cure you. People can distract you, but they cannot mend you. Success can entertain you, but it cannot fulfill you. Comfort can numb you, but it cannot save you. Only Allah can reach the depths of your heart and restore what was shattered there. When pain enters your life, it forces a choice. You can turn away, letting bitterness take root, or you can turn toward Allah, letting faith grow deeper. The same hardship that hardens one heart can soften another. The difference is not the pain itself, but where the pain is taken. When you carry it alone, it crushes you. When you carry it to Allah, it transforms you. Allah knows that some lessons cannot be taught through words. They must be lived. Patience is not learned by hearing about it. Trust is not built by reading about it. These qualities are forged in moments of uncertainty, in waiting, in loss, in unanswered questions. And while the heart may resist these moments, the soul is being trained for something higher, something purer. Pain has a way of slowing us down. It pulls us out of distraction and forces us to reflect. In that stillness, truths surface. You begin to see which attachments were weighing you down, which hopes were tied too tightly to people instead of Allah, which expectations were draining your peace. Pain clarifies. It reveals what truly matters and what never did. Sometimes Allah removes what you love to make room for what you need. And what you need is not always what feels good in the moment. What you need might be distance from something that was harming your faith. What you need might be time alone to rebuild your relationship with Allah. What you need might be a breaking that leads to a deeper wholeness you could not have reached otherwise. The heart that has never been tested may appear strong, but it is often fragile. The heart that has endured pain and still turns toward Allah carries a strength that cannot be shaken. That strength does not come from the absence of suffering, but from the presence of trust. Trust that Allah sees. Trust that Allah knows. Trust that Allah is gentle even when life feels harsh. There is a special intimacy that forms between Allah and a servant who calls upon Him from the depths of pain. When prayers are whispered through tears, when words break apart mid-supplication, when all that remains is sincerity, that is a connection untouched by pride or pretense. That is a heart standing exactly where it is meant to be. Pain has a way of emptying the heart, and an empty heart is ready to be filled by Allah. When distractions fall away, when illusions shatter, when expectations die, the soul becomes receptive. It begins to hear what it was too busy to notice. E4. It begins to feel a nearness that comfort never taught it to recognize. Allah does not waste suffering, not a single moment of it. What feels like loss is often an exchange. What feels like delay is often protection. What feels like punishment is often preparation. And what feels like abandonment is often the strongest form of care, because Allah is preventing you from finding fulfillment anywhere but with Him. The pain you carry today may be shaping the strength you will need tomorrow. The tears you shed may be softening a heart that will one day comfort others. The patience you struggle to hold on to may be the very thing that saves you when something greater arrives. Allah knows what is ahead, even when you cannot imagine it. Faith is not proven by how loudly you speak about it, but by how deeply you trust Allah when everything feels uncertain. It is easy to believe when life makes sense. It is harder to believe when answers are delayed. And yet, that is where true faith lives, in the space between the prayer and the response, between the hardship and the relief. When you feel overwhelmed, remember that Allah chose you for this test because He knows what lies within you. He knows your capacity, even when you doubt it. He knows your breaking point, and He will not let you cross it alone. Even when you feel like you are barely holding on, Allah is holding you. Pain humbles the soul. It reminds us that we are not in control. And that realization, though terrifying at first, is also freeing. Because if you are not in control, then the burden was never meant to rest on your shoulders. It belongs to the one who manages every affair, who sees every outcome, who holds every heart. In pain, you learn the difference between saying you trust Allah and actually trusting Him. You learn what it means to place your future in His hands, even when you cannot see where He is eating you. You learn to walk by faith, not by certainty. And that walk, though unsteady at times, leads to places the comfortable path never could. Pain does not mean Allah is displeased with you. Often it means He is invested in you. He is refining you, removing what does not serve your soul, strengthening what will carry you forward. He is shaping a heart that can withstand both blessing and hardship without losing its anchor. There is a softness that comes after pain when it is met with faith, a compassion that grows, a wisdom that deepens, a humility that settles into the soul. These are not traits born of ease. They are gifts earned through endurance, through patience, through turning back to Allah again and again, even when it feels difficult. And even when the pain does not immediately lift, something within you begins to change. Your reliance shifts. Your priorities realign. Your heart learns where true safety lies. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the pain that once felt unbearable begins to feel purposeful, not because it hurt less, but because you grew stronger through it. Allah's mercy is not always gentle in the way we expect, but it is always precise. It reaches exactly where it is needed. It touches the wounds that must be healed and exposes the attachments that must be released. And through it all, Allah remains near, guiding the heart through every step of its transformation. Pain is not the end of your story. It is a chapter that carries meaning beyond what you can see. And as long as you keep turning toward Allah, as long as you keep trusting His wisdom over your fear, your pain will never be wasted, never ignored, never separate you from His care.